All right. The United States of America 2, Australia 1. Good win for the Americans. Didn't just win the game, but I thought played better than Australia. It was a deserved win. A chaotic game in many ways. Haji Wright with the double. Very nice brace from Haji Wright. A good game from Cristian Roldan, his first in a USMNT shirt, but 2 good assists for him as well. And an encouraging performance, especially considering how many of our guys were missing. Pulisic came off injured very early on in the first half, and frankly, we looked better without Pulisic. Now, some people are going to try to react to that and say maybe Pulisic shouldn't start. No, Pulisic should still start, and he's still our best player. But it was encouraging to see other guys taking up the mantle, right? Guys like Haji Wright getting his brace. That was good to see. He's probably sealed his spot on the plane in the World Cup. We're not going to the World Cup. It's here. So he's probably sealed his spot in the roster for the World Cup. And that's really damn good to see. He did what Sargent has not done. A couple of super chats here to read. We have Keep It Real. Thank you for becoming a new member. Appreciate it. Australia were poor, making MLSers look good. Australia were not that bad. They were very well organized in the first half an hour, and I thought they played well. And then they scored, and they still looked good. And then once Hajji scored that first goal, they seemed a lot easier to tear apart. Look, this Australia team has traditionally been quite difficult to play against. So we should give ourselves credit today for the way that we played, because this Australia team might not have a lot of, great players, but they've been a very tight unit this entire year long. Right. Jabbers. Cyrus says, if Roldan gets a World Cup man of the match, will you agree to eat a cockroach? No. Why would I eat a cockroach? And he won't get a World Cup man of the match because he's not a World Cup level player. And I'll tell you this right now. Roldan is going to get a lot of praise today because he played a good game and got 2 assists. It does not fundamentally change my mind on who he is as a player, because I don't react to one game. I react to larger data sets. And all the data sets on Roldan is that he's still not a good player. We're already discussing Roldan, Tac. I said
we'll
Roldan
talk about him.
A lot of praise today for a good game, but I'm not going to react to one game the way that some people want to. Oh my God, he proved everyone wrong. No, he had a first good game in 41 caps. That's the truth. And he'll get praised for it, but it's not going to change my mind on who Roldan is, guys.
And just to his point right there, it's like, if Roldan plays in the World Cup, I think he'll look out of his depth. But yeah, if he gets man of the match, that means he probably did a lot of good things. And if he gets man of the match, that means we probably won. So sure, we'll eat.
Not going to eat a cockroach, though.
No, we'll eat. No, we'll celebrate first and foremost, because ultimately that's what we want, right? For the national team to win. But I'll just say I doubt it. I think that, once again, when push comes to shove, I don't think he'll play in the World Cup.
I don't think so either. Although you never know. You never know. With Poch, anything's possible.
But he'll get a great rating today, by the way. He's going to get a very good rating.
Yeah, he will. Does Chris Richards get beat this often in the Prem? No. No, he does not. He doesn't play like that. He was poor today. I thought Chris Richards was quite poor today. Not encouraging performance from him. Still our best center back by a country mile, but he was poor today. If Roldan, we read this one already. We're all emus today, says Jordan Ramirez. Yes, we are. Can someone please explain to me why Freeman was basically playing as a winger at times in the second half when Australia had the ball? He's walking around looking either injured or gassed. Yeah, I didn't think Freeman was good today at all. He got beat multiple times. I did not think Freeman was good. I think if you're gonna play Freeman, he has to be in a back 3. I don't think he's a good wing back. Like, he could do it at an MLS level, but no, I don't think Freeman was good today.
I don't see how he's useful to the roster, period. But yeah.
No. Roldan Arston starting every World Cup game now. No, I don't think. I mean, if A-Rob is healthy, I don't think Arston will start. He might start if A-Rob's not healthy, in which case we should be very, very worried. I don't think Roldan's starting any game at the World Cup, honestly. Quick positive for me is that we came back in both games. I agree with that. We conceded first, and there's still question marks over our defending, because our defending was sloppy in both games. But definitely coming back to draw against Ecuador and coming back to win against Australia were both very, very encouraging. 100%. 100%. Remember, this is the same Australia that made it out of the group of death in 2022 and almost tied Argentina in the round of 16. Sure. No, it's this Aussie team is typically very tough to beat. That's why
We're
it's so
not.
encouraging.
No one's downplaying the win. No,
No, this is an encouraging win, guys.
they were on
100%.
a 7-game winning streak. Also,
Yeah, and they beat Japan as well.
hmm
To me, that's more impressive because it's more recent, right? What they did, 3 years ago is nice, but to me, what they did more recently is a better indication of where they're at. David Atkinson, why do you think Richards was bad? Playing center of the three, nerves as captain? I honestly don't know.
well, it's definitely not nerves. I'll say
I
that
don't think
it's
it's
not.
nerves. It could be exhaustion. Like maybe he's the only one who played 90 minutes both games. Maybe he's tired. He plays every week in a Prem. That's the only explanation. But it's weird. It doesn't really make sense because we know his quality level. We see him every week playing for Crystal Palace, looking excellent. I don't know if there's a big difference between playing center of the back three or playing on the right hand side of the back three because also that time that he got megged and had to draw the foul, he was literally on the right hand side of the back three. So
Yeah,
I don't
I
think it's
think
about the positioning.
playing central is definitely more difficult, right? Because you can get beat on the right, on the left. While you're playing to the side, you're usually forcing the guy to go down instead of inside, right? So there's definitely more paths to get beat when you're playing central, and you can be overexposed, especially if you play a high line. And he has been busier on the ball with the US when compared to Crystal Palace, but I don't know why he was bad. But again, it goes back to what we were saying about not reacting to just little moments. The larger data sample size that we have on Richards is that he's very good. The same way Roldan is like the opposite. And they're like, oh, he's so good because of this game. That's what we're saying. Richards wasn't great this camp. I don't think it was also terrible, but we have a lot of data on him, and he's usually quite good.
Yeah. That's why I guess we're not super worried. I will say maybe there's an element of it. He's not the man at Crystal Palace in that back three. Yeah, he is the guy. And sometimes, but for the US, he is the guy in that back three. He's the best defender. He's in the middle. Maybe that comes with a little more pressure, but he needs to embrace that pressure and he needs to put that pressure on his shoulders and he needs to be like, yeah, I'm capable of this. That's, I think, the next step for his development. I'm not saying that's the reason he played bad, but that's a guess that I have that maybe it is a little different being a complementary piece in the back three than being the guy in the back three where you have to be the last line of defense. Miles got burnt several times as well. Luna and Aronson with some nice impact off the bench. Wonderful finishes from Haji. Nice win. Yes, agreed with all of that. I didn't think Luna was as good as Aronson. I thought Luna was wasteful. Um, this is another good one by Albert here. Also, scoring 3 against 2 defensive teams is a plus. Yeah, that is good. Scoring goals, I mean, especially comeback goals, always encouraging. Non-CONCACAF teams, also encouraging. How would you play with How good would you play with Roldan and Sands in front of you? Yeah, but some of that's on Richards, like isolated 1v1 with players. Um, you know, you're just gonna you have to take responsibility for that. You can't blame the guys in front of you, okay? We left maybe 3 goals on the pitch. Oh yeah, at least. At least 3 goals on the pitch. At least. It was a very encouraging win, guys. Very, very encouraging win. I think there's in terms of takeaways, there's positive and negative takeaways here. That as always. The positive for me is that we won. And I know it sounds silly, but I was saying this a little bit in Tac stream. This team needs to get people excited for the World Cup. The last 2 years have been a drag for this team. And winning games against non-CONCACAF opposition, even if they are friendlies, will go a long way to doing that, especially if you're winning games and looking good. And today, and even against Ecuador, sure, we didn't win against Ecuador, but we looked like we could play with Ecuador and even beat them. And then today, we outplayed Australia and beat them. We need to do this again in November against Uruguay and Paraguay, right? We need to do this again against potentially Belgium and Portugal in March. They're rumored that those are going to be the 2 games in March. This is what needs to this is what needs to happen in order for the casuals, especially, and even the diehards. Like we're all diehards here. It's been tough following this team for the last 2 years to get us excited for that World Cup and to get the country excited about a team that can actually go and compete. Let's see here. says a lot how surprised everyone is by Roldan playing well.
I would like to talk
Yeah,
about
it
this.
says that they know ball. That's what it says.
No,
CBS
no.
Galazzo.
Can I talk about this one after you read it real quick? Yeah.
Yes, yes. CBS Galazzo Pod guys saying Roldan could be useful because he's most comfortable sitting in front of center backs, which allows Adams to hunt. No. No, Adams is not a hunter. Adams should be sitting in front of the center backs.
Yeah, yeah, guys. If our midfield is Tyler Adams and Roldan in the World Cup, we're in trouble. And again, can we stop being hostages of like the moment every
Yes,
time?
prisoners
So
of the moment.
yeah, prisoners. Sorry, prisoners. I need to sleep.
Eh,
Just going back to the point about Roldan, I'm gonna say this again, and you guys can clip this if you want to. Two things can be true. One, Roldan had some iffy moments today, but ultimately he was decisive for the win. So it was a good performance from Roldan. Honestly, probably his best performance with the U.S. national team. And if you remove the assist for whatever that's worth, he was actually quite poor. The first 30 minutes, he was quite bad. And the goal we
he was
conceded,
also mostly culpable on the
yeah,
goal.
and the goal we conceded is probably like 40 to 50% on him. And then 40, 50% on like Sands. But in terms of Roldan, I'm going to say this once again. Clip this, do whatever you want. If he plays in the World Cup, he'll be in the roster. I don't know if he'll play. If he plays in the World Cup and he does not look out of his depth, I will say that I was wrong. I'm not saying playing well, just not look out of his depth. I think if he plays in the World Cup, we're going to get something like Jordan Morris, Jesus Ferreira, or Shaquille Moore. I think it's going to be something like that if he plays in the World Cup. But what we saw today was good from him. Yes.
Yeah. Brett, I like the tie and the win this camp, encouraging, but mostly I'm happy that Poch seems to understand our roster better than previous camps have indicated, and we fought hard this camp. I mean, definitely there's been some improvements. A positive is no Agyemang minutes in this camp. That was a big positive, right? Um, I think trying Tim Weah at left wing back was also a positive because it shows that Arston is not a lock if something happens to A-Rob.
Pete, the Roldan thing from today reminds me a lot of like when Ajiman scored that game-winning goal in the Gold Cup.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Like everyone was like, "See,
F1.
he can
It
offer something."
delivers.
Yes, where we were like, "Look, Ajiman got a good rating probably that game because like, hey, he scored the goal that got us the win. He was crap the whole game." Now, mind you, I'll say this many times. I think Roldan is a much better player than Ajiman, and so that's a different discussion. But
But Agyemang's in Europe, Tac. I thought you were a Euro snob and you only rate players in
yeah,
Europe and you hate MLS
I
players.
would I would have Roldan ahead of Ajiman, Miles, even though they're different positions. But I think Miles is a better player than Ajiman, even Barston. But ultimately, what I'm trying to talk about here is we can't just get that one game, one moment, and say it is what it is. Roldan, when it comes to many games with the national team, and even watching him in MLS, even though he mostly does well in MLS, especially with a different role with the Seattle Sounders, it hasn't been good. Now, sure, if Roldan comes into next camp and he also plays well against Uruguay, he plays well against Paraguay, it was like, okay, maybe he's starting to slowly change the way I see him, but it's not going to be one game. It's not going to
No,
be one game. Now, he will be here. He might not be actually next camp because Seattle has the playoffs.
they may take him anyways. I mean, Poch may still bring him in for the vibes and the energy, you know? We'll see. We'll
Hmm.
see what happens. But at least for me, no Agyemang minutes and the experiment with Weah at left wing back, which I actually thought he was good today. Like, didn't get beat defensively, contributed to the attack as a wing back, like steady. In both of these wing back performances, I thought Weah was steady without like necessarily contributing a ton offensively. But you don't expect your wing backs to contribute a ton offensively in the final third. Um, Massive negative was Freeman. Why is he called up? Yeah, I didn't think Freeman was good today. I didn't think he was good today. Mark McKenzie has struggled when he plays for the national team. We need to find the third center back. I actually thought McKenzie was good today. Am I the only one that thought that?
Pretty bad on the ball. Had some weird passes, but
But in terms of defending, I don't think he did anything wrong. Like, I don't remember him putting a foot wrong. I mean, I think Noah Kai Banks has potential to be that third center back. The problem is, even if he plays a ton of minutes for Augsburg, it's risky starting a 19-year-old center back in the World Cup. It's risky just because center back, especially, is such an experienced based position. And He might have quality. He definitely has quality. Is he ready to start at a World Cup? Might be the question mark, right? We'll see. What are your feelings about Poch now after camp? Let me put it this way. I feel better after this camp than I did after the last one. There are still some questions, and we still need to see more, but things do seem to be trending now in the right direction. Let's see how that continues. Remember, we had a whole year of shit under Poch, so I'm not going to be completely won over from one camp, but it's definitely moving in the right direction now. If this continues in November, then I think we could be won over, and especially
Just
because
like
November
Roldan, right?
opponents will be tough.
Just like Roldan, it's the same thing. Not react to like the larger data that we have on Pochettino is negative, and then this camp positive. Just like
Right.
Roldan, one game. So good for Pochettino this camp. Things are looking better. Definitely encouraging, but let's see a slight improvement in the next one, which I also think we play. I wouldn't say tougher opponents, but at least
Uruguay will be a tougher opponent
more threatening up top. More threatening up top for sure. And
than
then Paraguay is a
Australia.
very
Yeah.
strong and Paraguay is a very strong defense, right? They were the second best defense in CONMEBOL with Argentina, only behind Ecuador. So next camp will be interesting.
Yeah. And who he brings and who plays will also be interesting, right? Because whoever's not in that last camp, like let's say Scally doesn't get called in November, it's over. I mean, it's probably already over. But if he doesn't get called in November and he's healthy, then it's over. You're not going to the World Cup. Luna shouldn't play as a left winger. He seems to be out of place. He fails to make runs, always coming back to the middle. He is best in mid. So he wasn't actually playing as a winger today, Telio. There are no wingers in this formation. We play a 3-4-2-1 with two inverted wingers. That means they play in the pocket and they play central. You have wingbacks that play wide. I don't think Luna was playing winger. I think he was playing quite central a lot of the time. But Luna also didn't play that well today. And to be honest, I haven't really seen Luna play well since the Gold Cup. Let's see. Weah is the best backup left right back for World Cup. Yes. I think Dest and Arob are your starters. And if something happens to either of them, Weah should back both of them up. You could also, if you're smart, bring Scally as the fourth wing back. And then if something happens to somebody else, you have Scally who can also play both sides. But I don't think Scally's going to the World Cup. I think it's going to be Arston, whether we like it or not. Captain Magnitude, not saying Roldan should get a single minute in 26. I pray not, for fuck's sake, but is now justifiable to be on the bench, especially if he continues. So that's two different things. If he comes into November camp and plays really well, then he's probably earned a spot on the bench. Okay. But for me, I'm still not. Look, this is his first good USMNT game in 41 caps, guys. I'm not going to be like, yes, he has to be on the roster now. We've accepted that he's probably going to be there. That doesn't mean he should be there, right? So I don't think he should be on the bench personally. But if he's there and doesn't play, I'm okay with it, right? If he plays in November against Paraguay and Uruguay and looks good and gets assists, then sure, he's making a strong case for himself.
Yeah, we have to. Can we just move on from? We'll talk about Roldan specifically when we talk about the game, but again, it's the same thing. If Roldan goes next camp and plays like complete shit, everyone's like, now he's shit. It's like, guys, you're all reacting to one game. The guy had one good game. Ajiman had a good game. He scored once for us. And what's that? There's many examples. Jesus Ferreira has had a good game.
Yes, I was going to bring him up next. Ferreira had a whole tournament where he was probably the best player.
Kellen Acosta.
Kellen Acosta against Mexico at the Gold Cup. Amazing performance, right? Remember that? 2021? But what happened after that, guys? He regressed to the mean. He regressed to who he really is. That's why you can't take one game and go, oh my God, he's such a good player. We were wrong about him the whole time. No, you take larger data sets, you take larger sample sizes, you give him credit when he plays well, because he certainly deserved it today. But you don't change your opinion about a player completely over one game.
Leggett won us a game in World Cup qualifying against Honduras. He came off the bench and he played very well that game. Leggett.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, it can happen. Now, once again, if Roldan comes into next camp and he plays well both games, I'm not even saying getting 2 assists in the game, doesn't have to do that, but play well in the game and possibly a goal contribution here or there if you can. That changes everything. Yeah, that changes everything. I mean, Diego Luna was a player that everyone was hyping up because of this one moment, because he broke his nose and played with it, big balls, and then he scores against Guatemala, and then people are like, "Oh, he has to start next to Pulisic." There were literal takes about Diego Luna has to start next to Pulisic. Now there are people even questioning if he should be in the roster. Let's not react to a moment. Once again,
Well, what's
Roldan,
that?
if
What's that Orlando winger that went to January camp and got like 4 goal
it was Chris
contributions?
Miller.
Chris Mueller. Remember? I remember this game. 4 goal contributions in January camp, and people were saying he's better than Pulisic. He should start over Pulisic.
He's challenging. Well, I mean, there were people saying to start Brendan Aronson in the World Cup over Pulisic in 2022.
Yeah. You
So,
just we got to be a little bit more measured and look at bigger sample sets. But let's go back to the game itself in terms of positives and negatives. What were some of the other positives for you, Jack?
well, the change in attitude that we saw against Ecuador, we saw again today. There was like a fight in our team, right? We're fighting
Yes.
for the win. It's and people were saying that's the bare minimum. It is the bare minimum to have that, but we weren't seeing that in previous camps for like we weren't seeing that for most of this ever since Berhalter was rehired and during the Pochettino era. It extended to that. We weren't seeing a team that was like hungry to play for the national team, a team that's willing to be physical, fight, have some grit and passion. And we saw that against Ecuador, but we were still in our mind, was like, is that a one-off thing? Like, we haven't seen it very often. Was it just that game? But I saw that again, and I think that's a positive. And even if we didn't pull the win, I still think we would have noticed this positive and a change in attitude from the players in general, all of them, right? No exceptions. In terms of that, I didn't see any negative attitude from any player. Everyone seemed like they wanted to play for the national team, which many of us have questioned. And I didn't see it this camp. I saw it as a big positive.
Yeah, I agree. Brett, we have to get to the bottom of this Scally story. How the
Oh, you
F can
do it, Brad. You know the players.
Yeah,
You do it.
Brett, you know the players. You got to find out what's happening. How the F can a couple of donuts ban you from a World Cup when you make the team better? Razzie sacrifice to make. I'm going to dig, but let's all keep asking. Brett, if you have information, come tell us the information. Well, come live on the show and tell us the story. I'll have you on and you can tell us the story in person when you get the information.
And
All
how
right.
nasty were the donuts? We need to know.
Yeah, we want to know. I don't get why guys like Scally and Sargent get exiled for one bad game, but Freeman, Luna, Augie, Rodan, Arf get unlimited chances until they play one good game to
Well,
justify
Sargent was
30
more
more.
than one bad game, but yeah.
Sargent's had a few, but yes, I understand. I actually don't think Scally. Everybody had a bad game in the Nations League semifinals and the third place game, so everyone did. I don't think Scally was banned because of one bad game. I think he was banned because of whatever. Brett is going to do our digging for us, and he's going to come on the channel and he's going to tell us the whole story live. But Gray, it's 100% true, especially under Berhalter. We saw this, right? Kellen Acosta get 50 caps and play well once, and it would justify him forever. So, yeah, it's a big problem, and I think it has a lot to do with MLS. I do. I really think that. Another thing in terms of positives is the variance in which we attack now, right? Oftentimes, our attacks seem very one-dimensional in the past, particularly under Greg Berhalter. But if you look at the different kinds of goals that we scored, let's take this camp, for example, or the chances that we created. There's crosses, there's long balls, there's hold-up play, there's combination play. We're varying the ways in which we can attack teams. And actually, Balogun mentioned this. He said that Pochettino has given them a lot of ideas in terms of the attack. Instead of, he actually said he wasn't coaching us how to beat players 1v1 when he was talking about Berhalter. He was like, he doesn't do that, but he does give you a lot of different ideas and ways that we can attack. And I think we're seeing that on the field. We're seeing the variance of attacking options, and not just in terms of players, but the dimensions with which we attack. Sometimes it'll be a cross. Sometimes it'll be a run into the half space and slipped in and then cut back. Sometimes it'll be a long ball. Sometimes it'll be hold up play and then quick 1, 2, 3 passes around the area. And that variance makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability is what good teams have. If you're predictable, you're easy to scout, you're easy to play against. Defenses like to keep the game in front of you that way. That makes it easy. So being unpredictable and having that variance of how you can open teams up was very encouraging to see. To be fair to Acosta, he saved us against. Wait,
He
what?
fouled. Remember when they had like a counterattack at the end or something? It's like
Guys, no, he didn't save us against Wales. As
no, no.
committing a foul, oh God, committing a foul does not mean you saved us against Wales. If he had got a block in or something, sure, but he was terrible in that World
I'll
Cup.
tell you who didn't save us. Walker Zimmerman.
Walker Zimmerman. It is uncanny how all the MLSers, all the MLS lifers, that all the shills and the MLS fanboys were dick riding leading up to the World Cup. Not a single one of them looked like they could compete at a World Cup level. Not one.
Yeah, I think that it's just it's happening what happened last cycle with us too. We had to hear a lot of shit about Walker Zimmerman and Leggett and Acosta and what's his name, Jesus Ferreira. I remember to this day when Jesus was like scoring against like CONCACAF minnows. We had a podcast in the Tactical Yanks podcast, and I asked you, like, what is he actually good at? And I think Dustin posted a clip, and we were getting a lot of hate for it. They're just like, Jesus this, and all we were trying to say at the time, it's like, we don't think this guy, when shit hits the fan in the World Cup, which is a different level, different speed of play, different pressure, and the other team's like overly physical, everything will be different. We don't think he'll look like he belongs. And again, that's ultimately what happened. And that's
Yeah.
what we do when we question certain players. At the end of the day, if the player's there and he plays, at least for that, I hope I'm wrong. When the World Cup comes up, I hope I'm wrong. Right now, I hope I'm right. When it's the World Cup, I hope I'm wrong. For the sake of the channels and for the sake of the fan in us, we need this team to do well in the World Cup and go far. But I'm just saying, when push comes to shove, there's a few players that have been in the roster: Arston, Freeman, Roldan, James Sands,
Miles.
Miles, Ajiman. So it's not just MLS players; it's players that are in Europe that I think they'll look
Even
out of
Aiden
their.
Morris.
Even Aiden Morris has looked quite shaky. He's playing in the championship right there. I think when push comes to shove, these guys, even the ones that play in Europe, they will probably look out of their depth in the World Cup.
So Turner was off the line with Bale all alone to chip. Okay, Wuxia games, let's imagine you're correct and that in that moment, Acosta did the right thing and fouled the player. Acosta still shouldn't have been at the World Cup. Anybody can foul a player. Although Miles today tried to foul somebody in the box and couldn't even pull that off. Do you remember that
Out of the
moment?
box, yeah, out of the box, yeah, out of the box. Yeah.
Outside the box. He was like crawling all over him, trying to foul him. No, no thanks.
He was slippery. The guy had oil on or something, or lube. He had some lube on.
You don't judge a player on one foul at one World Cup, right? So no, I'm not giving Acosta credit for playing well at the World Cup based on
We
one
we
foul that
need
he
to
made.
stop judging players on one moment in general, because if you're gonna do that, you're gonna say that like Baggio sucks for missing a penalty kick in a World Cup final, right? One of the
Sure.
best Italian players of all time. Like, oh, he missed that penalty. He fucking sucks. It's like, guys, one moment, one moment.
Yeah. Any other positives that we can think of not related to individual player performances, Tech?
Well, you said the win. We said the change in attitude.
I want to just say, continuing with the 3-4-2-1. I was worried Poch would go back to the 4-2-3-1, but it seems like that's now 3 games in a row that we've played this formation. I think it's safe to say this is our formation going forward, and it is no coincidence, I don't think, that our best 3 games this whole year were when we played that formation.
Yeah, I think in terms of general positive, we're just going to keep repeating ourselves and saying the result, the attitude, how we played. There was progress this camp, something we haven't seen in forever, right? That's progress.
No, Landon is great because
There's many moments.
what are you talking about? This guy's the top assister, the second most or third most assists in any international player's career ever.
Most
And he's
goals.
still the joint top scorer with Clint Dempsey for the national team.
Well, and he doesn't only like if Landon only had the Algeria moment, which honestly that's a big moment, but that was one of the easiest goals he scored in his career. Um,
Yeah.
if he only had that moment, it would be one thing. Landon has a lot more than those moments, including a very important quarterfinals run where he was a key player for that team in 2002, and many other moments with the U.S. national team. He's the top goal scorer. Like, it's not one moment, dude.
But
Landon
Lucio,
doesn't have one moment.
you're very invested in defending
Don't
Kellen
compare
Acosta.
Landon to Roldan. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, he's comparing him to Acosta. Guys, Acosta's not even a starter in Chicago with his best boy Greg there. He's a bench player in MLS 2 years after that World Cup. Like, come on. It's almost like
I'm
we were
just gonna
right the
double
whole
check
time.
so I don't say something stupid, Pete. I just want to see how many World Cup goals and assists Linden has.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just
FYI, you have 2 times as many viewers as State of the Red Goof. What's State of the Red Goof?
they're talking state of
Oh, State of Soccer? I'm not sure who you mean, Timothy. Can you clarify?
State of the Union. It's Alexi.
Oh, those guys. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
Landon
that's not
Landon has 5 World Cup goals and 1 assist, which for a USMNT player, it's remarkable. So
if
it's not one.
Kellen Acosta had 5 goals and 1 assist, or even 5 good performances in a World Cup, he doesn't have one. Nobody would be
He has a
shitting on him.
foul. He has a foul. It's a good
He has
foul.
1 foul. That's his big claim to fame. 1 foul against Wales, who didn't even get out of their group. And he was on as a substitute and he was fresh. 1 foul. That's all you're pointing to, that Acosta was good? I don't understand the logic. Philip Silvar said, Poch just said Pulisic felt something in his hammy. In some ways, that's good. It's not the ankle, but it's also not good because the hammy is never a good. You never want, especially a speed player. You don't want that. I hope he's okay. I doubt he'll play for Milan this weekend if he felt something in his hammy, but we'll have to see. All right. Negatives. Let's do a few negatives, not related to player performances. I still think we have a lot to figure out with our defense. I think Poch is still experimenting with this back line. I'd say we generally looked okay against Ecuador outside of the goal, but then today our defense looked all over the place. And maybe it's the personnel shuffle, right? We were trying McKenzie. Although Miles was there again for the second time, I thought he looked bad. I still think our defense at times has a tendency to push too high up the field. And because we don't have any real speed along that back line, I think we get punished for it. And I think that's something that Poch needs to figure out before we get to the World Cup. That would be one of my negatives from today. And giving up silly goals, right? The goal against Ecuador was kind of a silly goal. It was like a lot of different players were involved in it being a goal. And the same today. It was disjointed is the word. Disjointed. We looked disjointed defensively.
I think one way to put it is it seemed like our goals we had to work more for it, and then we would just give away a silly goal. Like for example, today against the first goal against Australia, nice Chris Richards steal, McKennie with a nice pass to Roldan, Roldan with a nice pass to Haji to score. Right, you have to actually build something off it. While the Australia go off a throw in, the ball's just like ping ponging around, no one clears it properly. Ecuador, like bad press by Aiden Morris, and then Richards gets beat by a 37-year-old. So it's just like it feels like we had to work a lot more for our goals than our opponent. Now, the good thing about that, Pete, is that we actually scored actual goals, and all we need to do is adjust that defense and not commit these silly mistakes. So that could even be seen as I wouldn't say a positive, but encouraging, I would say.
Yeah. I also think we haven't seen our full back line. When you have Dest, A-Rob, Ream, Richards, and Banks in your back line, and then you've got Adams and Tessman or Adams and Johnny defending, that's when we sort of get to see what our back line looks like. We haven't really been able to see this our real back line for a while now because of injuries. And frankly, we should have had Dest in this camp because we had A-Rob in this camp, but he didn't play any minutes. Then what was the point of bringing him? Just leave him in Fulham to recover. Meanwhile, Dest started the week before this. So I don't really understand that one. But other than that, I don't think there were too many negatives. I really liked the way this team played. We got the result. We created chances. We looked hungry. We looked fit. We played with a lot of grit and intensity. Speed of play was good. Variance of attack was good. I think the only real negative outside of player performances was the back line looked very shaky to me.
Yes, and we did concede goals to 2 teams that are not known for scoring goals.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But we also scored on teams that are not known for conceding goals.
Yeah. So again, it's like a positive and a negative week because it's adjusting the defense is easier than actually building a team that can create and score. Create and score, usually you have it or you don't. You can make some tactical adjustments, but if you don't have the players, there's only so much tactics can take you. While defending, you can kind of set that up and you can fix it.
Yeah. Zach Drummond says, is Musa more or less valuable in this new setup? So, in my opinion, he's more valuable in this new setup because Musa doesn't really crack anywhere near the starting lineup or even the first, like the B team as a midfielder or even really as a winger. But if you want to play Musa somewhere, he could probably play wing back better than Arston could. Um, so I think he's more valuable, but I don't think he's going to be there personally. I think Scally and Musa, as the ship has sailed. I think there are two players for sure, not for sure, but Scally and Musa, I don't think will be at the World Cup. I think Gio is the question mark now. If Gio does not get fit, healthy soon, and start heavily contributing for Gladbach, I don't think he's going to be at the World Cup either. So those are the three guys that you can be like, doubt he's going to be there.
Let me ask you
All
a
right.
thing. Higher odds of making the World Cup right now, Roldan or Gio?
Oh, Roldan all day, every day. 100%. All right, let's do the player ratings. Matt Freese. So I thought Freese was mostly good today, except for one time that he kicked the ball out of bounds when he was trying to pass it under some pressure. But he didn't do anything goofy. His positioning was good. He was good in the air. He made the saves he had to. He didn't drop the ball. I'm going to give him a solid 7.5. Like he didn't make incredible saves or anything. It's not like there was like fingertip saves, but he did all the things that you expect your goalkeeper to do.
I'll give him a 7. I don't. The goal also wasn't on him. Made a nice save when what's his name when Miles tried to grab the player.
Yes.
And then the
Yeah, that
player
was a good save.
got a good shot, good save. Didn't really give off a rebound. 7, good performance from Matt Freese today.
Yeah. 7 is fair. Fullback was
Freeman and
Alex
Weah.
Freeman. Freeman and Weah. You go
I
first on Freeman.
I actually thought Freeman was quite poor up top
Yes.
in the first half. He was killing most of the offense. He can't combine in tight spaces, so it wasn't really working. And he got beat on defense a few times. It wasn't once, it wasn't twice, it was a few times. Now, obviously, it didn't really lead to anything. That's just his luck. Or
Yeah.
maybe the opponent didn't have the quality to punish. 3, 4, 3, 3, I guess.
Yeah, I'll give him a 3.5.
Yeah.
3.5. I thought it was poor. I thought Weah was good. I don't think he was outstanding, but I'll give him a solid 6.5. I think for a wingback, he does a good job on both sides of the ball. Like you see him getting high up the field and involved in the play as much, but you also don't see him doing anything goofy at the back. He almost scored a nice goal, an attempt at least. But generally, I thought he was safe and reliable at the back, which you cannot say about Arsene. And so I was very happy to see that Weah experiment at left wing back because it shows Poch is not completely stuck to Arsene as the backup to A-Rob.
I'll give him a 6. Not a good performance, but above average way. Maybe he should dance a little bit less. That's probably the only criticism of it. He was
Yeah, it's like,
he
dude.
watched too many Arston highlights right there, and
Oh, it's like Arsene's getting a lot of playing time because of this dancing. Maybe I should try it.
and then he tried to do it. But wait, I'll give him a 6.
All right, you go first on Miles.
I thought Miles was doing all right until that bizarre moment where he's like trying to grab the player and foul. He's doing okay. I'm gonna give Miles a 5 for the overall performance. I thought he was average. I didn't think he was garbage. I didn't think he was trash, but I'll give him a 5.
I'm going to give him a 4. He had several other moments, and I'll show them in my Patreon tomorrow,
I don't remember
where
it.
he just got beat on the ball way too easily or couldn't keep up with the play. I'll give him a 4. He wasn't as bad as Freeman, but still a big concern. If you're starting Miles at a World Cup, that's going to be a big concern.
I have a concern of starting him. I have multiple concern about starting him in the World Cup, regardless of his performance. But yeah,
Yes.
I'll stick to the 5.
Richards, I'm going to give Richards a 4 as well because I don't think he was awful across the board, but there were too many moments, partially on the goal. I think he could have done better, been a bit more decisive to save the goal. I also think that getting megged, and sure, he fouled the player, but getting megged, period, is a bad look. And there was one or two other times where he went in for remember where that time where you said he should have won it in the air and he ended up winning the ball, but it was called as a foul.
No, he
There were
conceded a dangerous foul there. Yeah.
there were questionable moments from Richards, right? So I'm going to give him a 4.
I was gonna give him also a 4.5, roughly, slightly below average. But I do think he played a big role in the first goal. as well. I
That's
know
true.
it's not. I know it's not an assist or a goal, so we usually tend to forget. But again, it was a nice steal, and it set up Weston very well. And we just ignore that usually. We don't remember those moments, but those matter. The goal doesn't happen without that. So I'm not going to bump him up a 1. It's not an assist or a goal, but I'll give him a 5. It bumps him up. The thing with Richards, I think the best way to define his performance, it's more like inconsistent, right? With some really bad moments and some really good moments too from him, which kind of had that against Ecuador too. Some really bad moments and some really good moments. Almost scored, but allowed Ener Valencia. So a 5. I'll
Do
give
you
him a
think
5.
there's an element too of Richards is having to clean up for a lot of other people? I'm not justifying him. I'm just wondering how much that's playing into his performances because
It
he's
could
getting
be.
dragged wide a lot, Tac.
It could be.
Like even the time he got megged, he was practically playing right back, and that's not really his game.
It could be, and it's up to Pochettino to analyze that multiple times on tape. I would have to rewatch. I'm going to rewatch portions of the game right now before the 7 things we learned. It could be the conclusion. I do think the goal Ecuador scored. Obviously, he shouldn't be getting beat by a 37-year-old Valencia, but I think he was set up to fail on that specific play. The way things
Yeah,
played out, while Miles was kind of high up the field, Aiden Morris went for an aggressive press that failed. And Tim Ream was nowhere to be seen. There was no coverage, so he was left on.
yeah.
And people forget this, like, oh, you shouldn't get beat by Ender Valencia. But if you play, for example, France, and you leave Chris Richards in that specific position, and it's Dembele or Mbappe, he ain't catching those guys,
No,
right?
no.
So again, how much is it on Richards? How much is it on the setup? There's a lot of it that we can be
Yeah.
discussing.
But you do need to build around your best players as a coach. And so Poch's priority is what is the best back line that allows Chris Richards to be at his best? And what is the best way for us to play that we take advantage of Chris Richards' strength and cover for his weaknesses, which he does have, like any player. Um, and then Mark McKenzie. I'm going to give Mark McKenzie a 7. I thought he was solid. I don't think he was great on the ball, but I don't remember him making a single defensive error.
So I'm going to be less nice to him. I'll give him a 6, slightly above average, because I thought on the ball he wasn't great. And there was even some bizarre passes. But yes, defensively, I don't remember him actually making any mistakes like let's say Richards or let's say Miles. Now, mind you, Weah was helping him a lot more on defense than Alex Freeman was helping Miles or even like Richards covering for both. There's that little aspect, right? Like, for example, would McKenzie have been as good if Arfston was there?
He would have been tested more,
Yeah,
and then we would have had to see what he looked like undergoing that kind of testing.
exactly. So, but I'll give him a 6 because again, it's like he can't do anything about that, right? If he had
Yeah.
more help or not.
All right, you go first on our favorite. Well, let's start with Sands.
Thought he was very he was a bit culpable on the goal that we conceded. And outside of that, I didn't see him. It just looked like the same James Sands as always.
Yeah.
And I kept hearing people say that he was now in the Bundesliga and playing well. And I was trying to catch a game. The one game I watched in the Bundesliga, he didn't play well. And just because you're in the Bundesliga doesn't mean you're actually like a Bundesliga level player, right? You might be like a relegation battle player, just maybe not good. Just because you shot Jesse James, it doesn't mean you are Jesse James. So he isn't really, yeah, he's not a Bundesliga player. Just because you're there, I mean, obviously, I don't know
The
why
weirdest metaphor I've ever heard for
it was
soccer.
it was a perfect metaphor. The overall point is just because you did something or you're
Just
there,
because you
you're not
shot
it.
an emu doesn't mean you are an emu.
Just because you shot one emu, it doesn't mean you
Let's
won the
just
emu
say
war.
James Sands' performance was like the Australian army against the emus. That's what it was.
That's not good. That's definitely
It's
not good because
way
they lost.
better than the Jesse James one
Yeah,
and more
because
topical.
yeah, but you used like a historical event. You used maybe one of the greatest events in mankind that doesn't get enough coverage, that Australia lost the war to a bunch of birds.
Yeah, that's why it's a great reference.
Yeah, but not many people know. So not many people know. We didn't know about it till
Well,
like an
now they
hour ago.
know. This is going to turn into a after the World Cup. This is just becoming an emu advocacy channel.
Yeah, I'll give I'm gonna give James Sands probably like a 3.5. I think that's the best I can give him. 4
Yeah,
would be
I'll go with you on that.
best. Yeah.
3.5 seems fair.
Yeah. And then we have Roldan now.
I'm giving him an 8 because 2 assists. I mean, he played reasonably well throughout the game. The reason
Not
is
the
not
first
higher than
30
an
minutes. He was not
no,
good the
not the
first
first
30.
30 minutes he was poor, and he was still the majority culpable on the goal. If your defending is to kick the ball against a player's chest in the box, I'm sorry, no. I'm giving him an 8.
So I'm going to try to rationalize Roldan's performance. Um Up to the 30th minute, I thought it was like below a 5. Up because he was culpable on the goal, wasn't offering jack crap. He was one of the reasons why we were not being able to progress the ball forward.
Yes.
After the goal, which he got the assist, which was a very nice assist, he had a nice shot that was actually very close to hitting the target. It was like probably an inch away from the post. He had another shot that was over the crossbar, but it wasn't actually a bad shot that he tried. And he started to actually play well. Had a nice moment down the right flank where he got a cross in. He created space on his own. And then at the end, he also got the assist for the second goal scored by Haji Wright. So probably around a 5 without the assist. And then he gets 2 bumps. I'll give him a 7 with the bumps
Okay.
of the assist, which is the highest rating Roldan has ever gotten.
May ever get. Wuxia Games, I agree with you there. I don't agree with you the first part, but I agree with the last part. Roldan has to be a 10. He will never be better. That's probably true.
Yeah,
That may be
but
his
again,
one good game in the USMNT shirt.
I'll actually give him a 7.5. I'm going to bump him up to a 7.5 because it's the 2 of the assists, but at the end of the day, it was the only 2 gols that we scored. So it's a
Yeah.
big reason why we
And they
got the
were
win.
good
So
assists. They weren't gimme assists either. They were
7.5,
good assists.
7.5.
Pulisic, I'm not going to rate because he got pulled very early.
But he wasn't playing well.
He was not playing well. I think he's still injured. I mean, he hasn't been training much this week. It doesn't feel like go back to Milan, rest, maybe take a few games off. We need a healthy Pulisic. Um, that's so then the other one midfielder would be McKennie. I thought McKennie was reasonably good today. Better than he was against Ecuador. I don't think he was like I think he was all over the place in the sense of like we worked hard, he was connecting passes. He's never going to be a creative player. McKennie is really a box to box 8. That's in my opinion his best position. And I think he kind of showed himself as that today and I think he did a good job of it. I'm giving him a 7.
I'll go with 6.5, a little bit below 7. I can't get him too close to Roldan. They got 2 assists, but I'll give McKennie a 6.5. He looks lighter
You
too, right? He looks way
definitely looks
fitter.
fitter. Definitely
Yeah.
looks fitter. I hope he keeps this up because we've seen him at times in his career look fit and then not fit. Keep this up at least until the World Cup. And then if you want to retire from the national team and go play in Cincinnati and eat pork or whatever you eat, totally fine by me. You go first on Haji.
I gave Roldan a 7.5. I'll give Haji an 8 because he scored the 2 goals, which ultimately is what you need to win the game. But actually, Haji's overall performance was not great.
I'm giving Haji a 9
9.
because, yes, and here's why. Roldan, for me, would have been higher if he hadn't given up that silly goal. But they
Mhm.
were both good goals. Even though Roldan slipped him in, he still had a lot to do. It wasn't just a tap in. It was a very nice goal. And yes, I know Roldan had a good ball on the second goal, but he dribbled down the field, cut inside, and curled it into the left corner with his weak foot. I think the quality of those goals demands a higher rating. The quality of both of those goals was excellent.
The
Even though
goals
I
were,
agree with you, up until his first goal, I didn't think he was playing well. I agree with you there. But I think
but
the
I think
quality of
even
those goals bumps him up to a 9.
obviously, ultimately, if you score 2 goals, the performance is good. But outside of the goals, even after that, like Haji didn't really play well the game. The goals were great, of course, and I'm
Yes.
giving him an 8, right? Because an 8 is a very high rating. But I do think he would get more if he had a good performance with it. But still, 8 is a good rating.
Let's do the subs now. First subs
Mm,
who came on, we had Luna was the first one. He came on for Pulisic.
eh,
Um,
very
I'm
wasteful.
give Luna 4. Like I thought he tried, but he wasn't very effective.
He hustled. He tried. He was heavily involved in the game. I'll put it this way. But yeah, I'll give him like a 4.5, 4.5, something like that.
Yeah. Which is again a reminder, guys, to not judge players on one game because since the Gold Cup, actually not since the Gold Cup, since the Mexico game, Luna has not looked good. And he didn't look good in those friendlies in the summer either. And he hasn't looked good since. So we could have overreacted to Luna. Look where we are now. You go first on Brendan Aronson.
Actually looked better today.
Yeah.
I
Created
think
two
I'm
good
going to give,
chances.
yeah, he could have easily had an assist. Easily.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Brendan a 6.5, 7 ish. 6.75. I don't want to give him a 7, but somewhere between that, 6.75.
I'm giving him 6.5. I
Yeah.
thought he played well. He also played wingback for a bit and actually looked pretty good as wingback. Better than Arston has. I'll tell you
That's a
what,
low
if we can
bar, but
have
yeah.
Weah or Aronson before Arston, I will absolutely take it. Who were the other subs? Balogun. I'm gonna give Balogun a 5. Because I don't think he
I
was
don't
bad, but I don't think he was good.
let me even see how many touches he got. I don't remember. He had 4 touches. It's hard to judge that.
Oh, why? Because we were attacking.
Yeah, 4
Was it
touches
his
is low
off-ball movement? Did we just
he
not
played.
find him?
Yeah, he did play 30 minutes. I mean, there's got.
Played 30 minutes, and he only had
I'm gonna have
4.
to give. I think I'm gonna bump him to a 4 just because it has to be a little bit on him for not being that involved. If we were
Yeah,
attacking,
that's weird. 4 touches in 30 minutes when we were attacking too.
yeah.
Um,
To be fair, let me tell you one thing. Testman apparently had only 14 touches, and he was a midfielder, and he was
I
in
was
with
going to give
Balogun.
Testament a 5 as well because I just don't think he stood out in a bad way or in a good way.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Like for example, I'm gonna give you an example. Arfston was on 12 minutes after Balogun and Testman. Arfston had 14 touches.
That's crazy.
Um, Aiden Morris had 24. Testman and Balogun combined had 18.
It's weird.
I'm
Very
giving
strange.
Testman also probably a 4. Like as a midfielder, you have to be more involved. It's just weird.
Yeah, fine. I'll join you on both of those. I'm not going to rate Morris or Arfston though because they weren't on for long enough for me to give them a rating.
Mm.
Let's give
Arfston had
Poch
a
a rating.
bizarre back heel though. He had that one bizarre back heel.
That was so Arfston. Dance, dance, dance. Try a back heel. Give the ball away.
They're saying Testman started with a poor giveaway, but his pass through to Morris was brilliant. He created a chance. I don't remember that.
The one that Morris missed. So he released Morris in behind, and then Morris cut inside and then shot and missed the goal.
Okay, that's one thing. He didn't participate enough in the game. Once again, I'm not gonna change anything because of one moment. But
Yeah,
overall,
I
like
don't think so either.
he can't have 14 touches in 30 minutes as a central midfielder in the 3-4-2-1. Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
be more involved.
yeah. Um, Poch.
You go first.
I'm going to give him 7.5. I'll give him an 8. He won the game. We played well. I don't agree with some of his selections, but even the selections I didn't agree with, like Roldan, played well. Yeah, I think 8 is fair. We did enough to win that game. We were worthy of it. We played defensively. We're still very disorganized, and I don't understand how he's going to have to fix that. But I think overall, this was a good camp from Poch between these two games, and today he deserves an 8.
I would give him an 8 just like you, but I'm gonna bump him to a 9 because he didn't play Ajima.
Ah, gets extra points. And Arston only came on for the last 10, 15 minutes.
And he
So
tested
those are good.
Aronson on the left wing back. There's got to be a reason for that, right? Because he could have just sent Arston in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
true.
I'll give him a 9 for Pochettino, and overall he got some good results this camp. Like tying Ecuador is really not that bad a result. We should have probably won the game, but that's not a terrible result. And beating Australia is good. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't downplay beating Australia. They've had 7 wins in a row at this
Yeah.
point, so we
Yeah.
can't
And they just beat
downplay.
Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, it's good. It's been a good cap. Let's hope we see more of this in November, right? Maybe with some other players who are injured. Having Dest back would be great. A-Rob, hopefully. Maybe Noah Kai Banks gets a call in November. That would be really cool to see. Adams, Johnny is another one. Can Johnny get healthy? Can Gio get healthy? These are the question marks that we're going to have going into November. All right. Anything, Tac? You're going to do the top 10 tomorrow. Top 10, sorry. The 7 things we learned tomorrow.
Someone needs to sleep as well. Dude, I need to sleep, but I will finish the top 10, but I definitely need to sleep. I'm exhausted.
Yeah. And I will have the Patreon breakdown probably tomorrow afternoon. That'll be out. So, all right, guys. Thanks for hanging. Good camp, I would say, overall. A lot of positives to take away from it. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you for the weekend videos.